So I've often heard teachers say things like, there are no stupid questions, to encourage us to ask questions freely and to engage with the material they've taught. But looking back on my own experience, there are such things as stupid questions. And today I'm going to tell you about some of these very stupid questions I've asked Venerable Children, and she can probably give you more examples. Stupid as in arising from ignorance and affliction, yeah. So in 2012, I came for the Exploring Monastic Life program, and at that time, I had one foot in a relationship and one foot out, although I was not cognizant of that. And from having a meeting with Venerable Children before the Exploring Monastic Life program, she pointed out that I was still doing the hokey pokey, one foot in, one foot out. And I was like, oh, and she said, a prerequisite of this program is that you can't be in a romantic relationship. And I was like, oh, right, of course, yeah. I mean, I was still in touch or in some kind of contact with the ex-boyfriend. So I said, okay, I will make a very clean break. I definitely want to do this program. I want to be fully present here. And I was for those 3 months, And at the end of the 3 months period, the first time I had stayed here for a long time, I requested to come back to train as an anagarika. So I was, full on, ready to go back to Singapore, tie up my loose ends, and come back to train. So on the last day of the 3 months, I got my cell phone back, And you turn on the cell phone, and all these messages pop up. And I was really surprised to receive all these messages from my ex-boyfriend. Like, why is he contacting me? And one of the messages said, oh, you're coming back today. Can I come to the airport to pick you up? So if you were me back then, you've done this 3-month program, you are so certain you are going to come back and train. What is the answer to this question? No. But of course, I had to ask Venerable Children. I didn't know the answer. I asked her, can my ex-boyfriend come and pick me up at the airport? And with infinite compassion, Venerable Children said, no. But it gets better. Then I asked her, oh, can I explain to him why? And she said, no. And then I was like, oh, really? So looking back, it's like, why? Why do we ask our teacher these questions, which, if we've really reflected on the teachings or if we're so clear and sure, the answer should be self-evident, right? So yes, I know these animals have a life of their own in a different context, but so they're here as a prop, So obviously this is my attachment mind, very big, very bright, and not very stable. And here's my wisdom mind, primordial, but very small, has been living under the shadow of attachment for the longest time. And then thanks to the teachings and, the wisdom and kindness of my teacher, here it is, it's out. And it's like trying to say something like, you need to take care of your future lives and create virtue and make wise decisions. And this is like, right? So here's wisdom mind comes and asks the teacher for help. Like, should I do this? Should I follow this? And kind, wise owl says, no. So I think that's what was happening back then, where the attachment was just so strong, it completely obscured what should have been a very self-evident answer. But sometimes I think, too, there's some mixed motivation there, right? Where this mind, you're not so confident in making decisions with your little primordial but very small wisdom mind. So you hope to, and you're afraid of being accountable for your decisions, so you hope to outsource that to your wiser teacher, right? Like, make the decision on my behalf, please, so I don't have to be responsible. Why did you break up with me? Oh, Venerable Children said so. I didn't say that, but it comes up, right? People ask venerable questions like, I would like to ordain, should I sell my house? I would like to ordain, can I keep my car? I would like to ordain, can I keep my cell phone? It's like, if you know what ordained life is about, these are self-evident questions. So why do you need to ask your teacher? She doesn't know the housing market. If you need to sell your house, you sell your house, right? It's like, what are you expecting? So thankfully, Venerable very wisely will not advise you on when or whether to sell your apartment. Those are decisions that you can come to having reflected on your aspirations on your own terms. I think too, just thinking about questions I've asked with mixed motivations, I think in the earlier years of living here too, I've definitely asked questions hoping to look impressive, yeah, where you have a genuine Dharma question, but you ask, hoping that it will bring some kind of praise or, make you look good in front of other people. So one example I can think of is when we were learning tenets very early on, I asked Venerable something like, oh, could you explain the Prasangika Madhyamaka refutation for why the foundational consciousness is asserted according to the Chittamatra view? And I think she looked at me and said, yeah, I can give you an answer, but I don't think you're going to understand it. And I was like, that's true. It's not relevant to my practice as a beginner. Yeah, you're just learning the words. That whole period of time, I recall we were learning the mind and awareness teachings, so a lot of new terminology. And I always remember that she talked about how there are 3 vessels, right? The 3 unsuitable vessels for receiving teachings, the one that's turned over, one that's leaky, and one that has dirt in it, like a polluted motivation, or the mind that's forgetful, and the mind that's totally unreceptive. And she said, and there is a 4th kind of vessel, kind of like a popcorn maker, one that is too full of its own popcorn and stuff. So anytime the teacher is actually trying to teach you, it's like, but yes, why? Yeah, so many questions and doubts and things just popping, so the teaching can't even go in. And I could see that in myself. Yeah, I was like, oh, right, that's true. So yeah, I still remember us being at stand-up meeting, and she said, really think about the questions you would like to ask first. Yeah, look and see if you can find the answer in the teaching yourself, or really try and practice with it. Then ask your question. I see. She's giving instruction live. But I remember having to think about that. And for a while, I was like, why is she asking me not to ask questions? That's how I look smart. It's like, oh, right. Duh. That is totally the wrong motivation. Yeah, really go think about it on your own. Try and figure it out and see if it's actually a helpful question to ask for your practice at this time. Yeah. And then finally, too, more recently, sometimes you want to ask questions about how, to make a decision between 2 virtuous options, right? So it's not the case where your teacher has to intervene with this one, but you want to do something virtuous. Or in my case, you're already doing 10 virtuous things, but how about another 5? Yeah. So yes, I wrote an email to both the schedulers. It was, I think, a 3-paragraph email requesting permission to do a Tibetan class. And the moment I got the response back from Venerable, it so injured my ego that I deleted it. So I was looking for it. I hope to read it to you verbatim because she took the time to craft a good Dharma response. But I was like, I replied to her and then I thought, I don't want to read this again. Ouch. But no, it's okay. Thank you, Venerable Dharma, for the kind offer. But, basically it was me saying, oh, I've been following these teachings online. I would really like to attend this Tibetan class live. And Venerable's reply was, yes, I very much support your wish to learn Tibetan. And you are already committed to doing all these other virtuous things. And she made a long list. And then the last paragraph said, if you can emanate bodies, go ahead. Emanate bodies and do all these things, yes, go ahead, take this class. Thought, So I was not very happy, and I had the chance to sit and look at why I was not very happy. So I think on one hand, it's sometimes when there are a lot of virtuous things to do. Some of it is my own discouragement. Sometimes it's like, oh, your teacher has asked you to do these things. It's like, oh, can I really do them? But I think more often it's my rebellious mind too. Like, okay, my teacher has asked me to do certain virtuous things, but I didn't choose them. I didn't pick them on my own terms. Yeah, why are you asking me to do this? And I get it confused with what Venerable was talking about at Sharing the Dharma Day, where your parents have given you the best education in the world and they want you to be X. Yeah, you can be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, at worst a teacher, but absolutely please not an actor. And what are you now, a nun? So my mind gets confused, like, why are you pressurizing me to do this thing that you think is virtuous, but I didn't choose for myself? So yes, that's the self-centered thought. So it was good to just see that, like, no, of course, she's pointing out all these already marvelous opportunities that I have and are committed to do and need to focus on to really do them well to benefit others. So yeah, so those are just some thoughts I had about questions I've asked, some of varying degrees of stupidity. But the most important thing, I think, is that we actually get to learn something about ourselves and what the state of our mind is from the kind of question that even comes up. And it's been helpful for me to reflect on that. You know, is there a genuinely good motivation for asking this question? Am I trying to pass off the responsibility to someone wiser? How can I learn to grow this in myself so this has the confidence to make those decisions with wisdom? No, it's time for prayers. No, okay, yes, please, Venerable. Haha. Did you want to add more examples?
There's also when do you need to ask a question, but you know what you want to do already, and you don't want your teacher to know what it is because you don't want them to say no.
That is true.